Welcome to the Naples MacFriends user group. And our meetings are weekly until the end of June of 2022. We'll take a couple weeks off at Christmas, same time, same place. And we welcome our members from all around the world. We have people today from Australia, probably New Zealand, England, Canada, and all over the US. We welcome everyone.
Voila, here we go. Okay. So today, here's the new lineup this year, the new iPhones, iPads, and the watch. I have an iPhone 13 Pro. I absolutely love that phone. It's just fantastic. I like the camera, I like the size, I like the shape, I like everything about it. I also have the latest iPad Pro 11-inch, not the big boy. And I also have a Watch 7 cellular enabled watch, and I got that on day one. And they're in short supply. I was at the Apple store yesterday, and the guy said, we don't get those, and the phones are in short supply, I think due to supply chain problems and demand, but I think it's a lot of supply chain problems. And the guy just said, we get them in. You never know what day you're going to get it in or what time you're going to get it in. You just got to keep checking back at the store. If you order one online, I think they're 5 or 6 weeks out. So we'll move on. And the first thing I want to talk about is the watch, because it's pretty simple. The new watch, the screen is 20% larger, and it is fantastic. The size just went on the bigger watch, just went from 44 to 45 millimeters, but it is noticeably easier on the eyes. Text is a lot easier to read. Apps are a lot easier to see. And I am so glad I made the upgrade, and I upgraded from a 6. And a lot of people would say, well, that's not necessary. And it's not. If you read a lot of the reviews, they'll say, you don't necessarily need to do that unless you have a 4, a 3, 4, or older watch, maybe a 5, 6. There aren't that many changes, but to me, I get a new watch every year. It doesn't matter. They could change nothing and I'd still get the new watch. It's just where I am. But I have to tell you, and I know Jeff Bohr has one of these, and we've compared notes, and we just both think it's fantastic having this bigger display. The charging with the USB-C charger is 33% faster, and that's allowing me now to, I get done with all my exercise circles and everything at night, well before bedtime, and I just throw my watch on the charger for half an hour or so, and it brings it up to 100%. And now I'm monitoring my sleep at night, which I wasn't doing with the 6 because it was just a pain to keep the battery up all the time. And also it's 70% brighter inside with the always on display. And that is noticeably different too. Focus mode, which we're going to talk about on the iPhone and on the iPad, is also carried over to the watch. The screen is more crack resistant. It's thicker. And there are a couple new watch faces, neither of which I particularly care for, but some people might. So that's all I have on the watch. Are there any questions about the watch? I'd be glad to answer them now.
If you have any questions, you can raise your hand in the chat, or you can put your question in the chat pod, or raise your hand in the participants list. And Carl, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hi, Mitch. Does crack resistant also mean more scratch resistant?
They did not say that. I don't know that that's the case. You know, I've gotten a cover for mine, and the covers are very minimalistic. I'll hold it up and you can see it. It's very small. They're selling them on Amazon already for $10, and it just pops right on the watch, and you don't even know it's there. I was always against these, and a few years ago, one of the members was telling me that they used them, and I looked at it, and it does protect it completely. And the only problem you have with it is if you're out exercising and you happen to get really sweaty, you'll get moisture, or if it's raining, you'll get moisture underneath it, and you just pop it off and clean it and put it back on. But they did not say anything in the announcement about more scratch resistant. If you get the stainless steel or the titanium and pay $400 or $500 more, it is a sapphire crystal. They advertise it as sapphire. It's really not sapphire because it will scratch and sapphire will not. But it's partially sapphire, I guess, is the way what I've gotten from reviews. The reason, and a lot of people say, well, you know, I wouldn't get the aluminum. The stainless steel looks much nicer, and the black stainless steel looks fantastic. But if you get a watch every year, it's a waste of money. So I just always get the aluminum. I hope that answers that question.
Okay, Archer Yates, do you have a question that you want to ask?
Have you used the new cycling app on the iWatch 7, and what were your impressions?
I do not use the Apple cycling app. I use a third-party app called Cyclemeter. I've used it for years, and it works well with the integrating with the watch and with the iPhone, and it provides so much more data than the Apple app. But the Apple app is improved significantly, because one of the reasons why I did not use it is it would not stop when you stopped. And now finally, when you stop and take a break, it automatically suspends and then picks back up again when you jump on and start going again. So that is a big improvement. Hope that answers your question. But I would check out Cyclemeter. It's $10 a year, and it's well worth it, and it does a lot of other things. They make one for running, and they make one for something else. And I actually contacted them a few years ago, and I said, what's the difference between these? They said, there's actually no difference. You just go into the settings and change it to picking up a walk or a run rather than doing cycling. They said, but if you have Cyclemeter and you say, well, it'll do running as well, nobody would buy it. So they have Running Meter. Okay. It's the same app.
All right, Mitch, you have a couple more questions. Let's get to them quickly. Betty Larson, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, Mitch. I believe my question was answered by someone that all old bands fit the new 7.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Keith Kaiser, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Keith's question is, does anyone have the smaller watch 7, and how do you like it? And how do you like it? You can answer that one in the chat if anyone can answer that for him.
I know that I can say that the smaller watch is 41 millimeters now, and when the original watches came out, the big watch was 42 millimeters. So it's almost the size as the big watch was when they were introduced several years ago. And it is pretty nice, but I like the bigger watch face.
Okay, Don Peacock, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hey, Mitch, when you
Hey, Don.
first Apple Watch, I mean, as opposed to your normal Rolex, did you really miss the fact that it was not always on, or did it make no difference? And now that it is always on, are you very happy that they restored that?
I'm very happy that it's always on. That started with the Watch 6, I believe. And it's a little brighter always on now. And I really like that feature. Did I miss it when I stopped wearing my Rolex and started wearing the Apple Watch every day? Not really, because at that time I really wasn't wearing my Rolex except on special occasions because it weighed too much, didn't tell me any information, and other than the date and the time. And so that's it.
All right, can we
Thank
get
you.
just 2 more quick questions? Bill Nice,
Okay.
can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes.
Mitch, is there any trade-in value to our older watches?
Apple doesn't give you much of a trade-in value. The best thing to do is to give it to an unfortunate poor family member who you think would enjoy it, or sell it to a friend. I have sold mine to my neighbor at a reasonable price for the last 3 or 4 years. I keep thinking she won't want it, but every time she buys my old watch, she gives the last one she bought the year before to one of her kids. So I've got but that's what I do. And I end up selling it for about 50 cents on the dollar.
Okay. All right, great. Alan, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Last question, Mitch.
I actually don't like the always on feature. I like it dark and then come on when I raise my wrist. Does you have the capability of turning the always on off so that you don't have it on and disturbing me?
I would have to do some research on that because I think you can, but it would be on the Apple settings and what I would do is I would Google that. Just Google that. Can you turn off the always on feature on an Apple Watch 6 or 7 in settings, and it'll tell you that. But I don't know offhand. Okay. Sorry.
I believe you can. All right.
I believe
Mitch.
you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Mitch, all yours.
All right. Good. Let's move on. Okay. So iOS 15 was a monster change. There are like over 200 or 300 changes. Many of them are very small, but a lot of them are very significant. And so I chose the ones that I thought were the biggest changes, or the ones I wanted to just mention. I'm going to go through these quickly. And when I finish my slides, and I only have a few more slides, then I'm going to do some live demos. Safari on the phone changed rather significantly, and Christian Boyce did an outstanding presentation to our group on 9/22 of this year for the entire session on Safari on the phone, mostly on the phone, but he also covered it, I believe, on the iPad as well. And so for a real good detailed review, go to our website, look up that presentation and view it. I'm going to do a quick review, but I'm not going to spend much time since he already covered that. Focus, I'm going to go over. This is a feature that I didn't think much of when and I've been using the beta since June. So I've had a lot of time on this iOS 15. And trust me, it was buggy till about the end of July or end of August. But focus is do not disturb on steroids. And we're going to go over that. It turns out that it's one of my favorite features, and I think it's really outstanding. Live text and visual lookup are also outstanding features that I'll go over. The weather app has been completely redesigned, and Apple bought Dark Sky, and it's very similar to the Dark Sky app, although the Dark Sky I still like a little bit better than Apple's redesign. And the Dark Sky has a few features that I particularly like, but dark sky is only going to be working for, I think, another year, and then they're going to eliminate it, and then you'll have to go to the new design, and hopefully by then they'll enhance it and get some of the features in there I want. I'm not going to go over that, but it is there on the new iOS automatically. Control center has been enhanced. Photo editing has been enhanced with a lot of great information, and I will go over some of that. And that has been an immense improvement on iDevices. The selection and change of the home page has been improved, and I'm going to go over that. And it's the same on the iPhone as on the iPad. A lot of the features on the iPhone are now on the iPad, and I'll show that. There are about 4 or 5 new widgets. I listed 3 here: Contacts, Find My, and Mail. There are a couple others. The Contacts is the only one that I'm really using as a widget, and I'll show that because it's sort of neat. I don't use it that often, but I thought it has some neat features. FaceTime has been enhanced significantly, and the big thing there, and it really is huge, it's not for me, but for some of you out there it will be, is you can now do FaceTime with Android devices, and with, if somebody doesn't have a phone, if they have access to the internet on a computer, they can be pulled into the conversation. And the way they do that is you send them an invite over the internet, and it just brings them in seamlessly. And that opens that whole thing up, because there's a lot of people that had family members or groups that were, 10 people had an iPhone or an iPad, and 4 or 5 people were on the dark side and had some other kind of device, and now you can pull them in. So that's great. Now, notes have been enhanced. You can now add tags to notes. I was playing around with that just this morning. I don't see a great need for that, but a lot of people might. I mean, it's just as easy for me to go up to the top and search for what I'm looking for. But it's there now. There have been major enhancements to maps. I'm not going to go over that, and it's not. They're going to have 3D maps, and those have only been released for certain cities right now. Mail privacy, that I think was in iOS 14, but that's a good feature to have on. And it's found in the mail and settings under mail, and you just check the box. And it'll tell you what it does, but it does provide a lot of privacy. And then there's a new feature, it's in the iCloud area, called iCloud Private Relay. And it basically acts as a VPN when you're using Safari only. So if you're out in public on a Wi-Fi and using Safari only, and you have this feature enabled, it protects you from people grabbing your data. However, it's in beta, and it's in beta on beta. And I was warned on some of the sites that I review that it's buggy, don't turn it on. So I'm not turning it on until it comes out of beta. Okay, now we'll get to questions on these things later. I'm going to go to the iPad for a second. Okay, again, Safari has been redesigned. And again, Christian went over this in his video, and I'll spend a little time on it. It's the same as in Monterey. A lot of people really like it. A lot of people don't. I had one question about it, asking if everything's sort of in a sidebar now. I'll show that. And they said, can you get rid of the sidebar and put it back to where it was? And you can't do that. So they're trying to be a little more consistent at Apple in putting everything in a sidebar, like in Mail, and Notes, in Photos. The sidebars might look different, but they are all on sidebars. The home screen, again, you've got now widgets that are available on the iPad, just like they are on the iPhone. You can do everything the same. And the Today view is gone. So that's been removed. The app library, which usually is at the last page on the phone in iOS 14 and on iOS 15, that's now on the last page on the iPad, but it's also in the dock. And we'll go over, and it's convenient to have it in the dock, and we'll go over that. You can hide and delete pages, home pages and other pages, the same as you can on the iPhone now. There are new ways to multitask that are easier. There's a quick note option, which I've used a couple times. Some of these things you just got to use for a while and let them grow on you. And that one hasn't grown on me too much yet, but it is there and it's easy to access. There have been notes enhancements. There's still no weather or calculator app. And that might seem like a small thing, but people are wondering in the review sites that I monitor. I mean, people have brought up repeatedly, why is it that Apple doesn't put their weather app and their calculator app on the iPad? I mean, it just makes no sense. It's so simple, but they're not. They've chosen not to. Nothing you can do about it except buy a third-party app for those items. Control Center has been enhanced. Spotlight has been supercharged. I mean, you get a lot more information on Spotlight, not only on the iPad, but on the iPhone and on the Mac as well. And there's again the significant FaceTime update that I talked about. Now, let me go on to. Oops. Let's get rid of that. Okay. I want to go on and go over things that are not presently coming. Universal control. Now, a lot of these things are going to come in future iOS updates. And universal control is one that everybody is waiting to get their hands on. If you look on when this first came out, or if you Google it, you'll see demos of it. And it's when you have your iPad here, and you might have your laptop over here and your desktop here, and you can literally go from one to the other with a swipe of your hand and move things around. And it's almost magic. I've heard a couple people on board say, I don't know how they do this, but they came out with it in one beta. Unfortunately, I did not try it on that beta, and they removed it in all subsequent betas because it was buggy. So I think iOS, they're on iOS, for the public, they're on iOS 15.02, which incidentally is not too buggy and it's safe to go to as far as I'm concerned. iOS 15.1, which will be an upgrade from 15.02, should come out sometime next week, and probably universal control will be released then when they release Monterey, and you'll have to have Monterey up and going to use that. And my take on Monterey is that I would wait until they have a few updates on it, because the betas on Monterey have been really buggy. Okay, SharePlay on FaceTime. I'm not sure if that's up yet or not in the public area, but that's where you can do a FaceTime call with 10 or 15 or 20 people, and you all want to listen to the same song. You can just pull up that song and everybody's listening to it at the same time, or you can pull up a movie. Everybody's watching the same movie. That's a great feature, but I don't know that it's been released to the public yet. And I don't do a lot of FaceTime stuff, so I have not tried that. Driver's license was a big announcement that you're going to be able to have driver's license in the wallet on your iPhone. It's been announced that they're working with 5 or 6 or 7 states, and they just announced earlier this week that Florida has been added to the list, and this will be coming in November. Now, unfortunately, it's only going when it comes out, it's only going to be available for use at certain airports and certain TSA stations. This is going to be very limited, and you're not going to be able to use, even though you'll be able to pull up your driver's license on your phone, it's not going to be acceptable to the police for identification or other agencies like that. I think it's going to take 3 or 4 years to get that really technologically acceptable to all those government agencies and police and so on to use it extensively. But it's coming, and they're working on it, and so that's great. And I can't wait until I can forget about carrying my driver's license around. 3D CarPlay is coming. I haven't used that yet, but it's coming to CarPlay, 3D navigation. Digital Legacy has not been released yet, but that's where you'll be able to assign someone like your spouse or friend or whoever to have the credentials to take over your accounts, to take over everything in the event of your death, which is very important, and that's coming. And then C-SPAM, which Sheeta said, well, what's that stand for? Because I didn't have the definition there, and I actually had to Google it. This is the child sexual abuse material where they were going to scan all your photos. And if you had something that was child sexually abuse material in your photos, they were going to report it. And this caused an uproar in the community because Apple has always been protective of privacy, and a lot of people are saying, you know, this is the first domino to fall, and we don't like it. So that is on permanent hold for right now. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about these changes that aren't coming or that aren't here yet, but I will take a few questions on those on the slide if you have them.
Bern Shanfield, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, sorry. I thought we were going to be getting the screen share function that currently we have between Macs to extend to the iDevices. Do you know the status of that?
That is coming, but I don't know the status.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Mitch, I don't see any more questions. Go ahead. Well,
Okay.
one more. Jill, can you unmute yourself and ask a question?
Yes, I just wondered whether the digital ID driver license thing will be available in the UK, or is this something that nobody can answer?
I'm sure in 2028 it'll be in the UK. I mean, they're working on the United States first, and I would imagine it's going to take a while to roll that out internationally. There's a lot of, I mean, there's a lot more they have to go through with that than like Apple Pay. I mean, when Apple Pay came out, that's been slowly seeping into society, and now, I mean, I use it everywhere. Most places accept it. And I think they accept it, Eckert, don't they accept that over in Germany now?
Yes, they're beginning to, right.
Yes, so these, I mean, that one's sort of a much easier one to roll out, but when you get into driver's license identifications, which involve government agencies and approvals and making sure that terrorists can't just go in and duplicate this stuff and get by security screens, that's a lot more complicated. So it'll take some time.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you, Jill. All right, Mitch, all yours.
Okay, I wanted to mention where I get a lot of my material. I do a lot on YouTube's, but there's a couple sites that I use quite a bit, and I just wanted to pull up a little information on both of them. The first one is Brandon Butch. I've talked about him before. This, if you pull up YouTube's and search for Brandon Butch on your computer, this is his homepage. If you click on him, and I have it on videos, and this shows recent videos. So he just did one on iOS 15.1 that I am now running, and that he goes through and tells about it and says, and he's the one who has predicted, and he's not always right, that it'll probably be released to the public next week when Monterey comes out. And you can see some of the other recent ones. He had one on the Watch 7, Beta 4, and so on. But he has all kinds of videos, and he has quite a number of followers. I think he's pushing 800,000. He speaks a little fast, but he's very, very thorough. So I suggest you check out him. And if you subscribe to him and hit the bell, it'll just give you a little notification when there's a new video. If you don't want to get the notification, just subscribe, and that way when you go on YouTube, he'll be there in a list of ones you subscribe to, and it makes it really easy to get to him. The next one and the last one that I really like is Apple support. The thing I really, and they have probably 70 or 80 videos. And the thing I really like about Apple support, and again, you go to YouTube's, search for Apple support. This is what's going to come up. It looks a little different on the iPad, but this is their homepage on the computer. Again, I have it set to videos. And the thing I really like about it is they're very focused and they're very short. So like, here's, how to use your Apple Watch, which they just came out with, your new Apple Watch, how to unpair and reset your Apple Watch, and then so on. But they're very, very focused. How to use live text in photos, which is one of the things I'm going to go over briefly. But they've got a 36-second video that really highlights that area. So this is another one I would suggest that you take a look at, and there are several others. Okay, with that, I am going to go into demo mode unless anybody has any questions.
No questions.
Okay. So what I want to start off with is Safari, and let me go to Safari, make sure I don't have, this is the sidebar, okay? In Safari. This happened to be an article I was reading this morning that the University of Kentucky was just recognized as the Apple distinguished, as an Apple distinguished school. But anyhow, these are tabs that I have open. If you notice, I have 7 tabs open. And here they are, right here. They start here and they go on over. And then if you're doing private browsing, you would hit on this one. And then they have groups that you can set up. I've set up 3 of them. And I set up, we'll take a look at shopping. I set this one up for the women members of our group. I want you to know that I'm thinking about you. Shopping. Okay. Not that we all don't do the shopping. So if I go to this shopping one, I have several items here. I have, let's see what I have here. I have Tiffany's. Okay. I have Amazon. I have Costco. I have to do these over here. I'm sorry. Costco, there's my sign in. I have Sam's, there's my Sam's page. I have Target. You can see where I shop. And then for the women, I have Tiffany's. I never show this site to my wife. I'm sorry, but I don't. And I hope you take that out of the video, George. Okay. And then I have also Lululemon. So these are, and you can have as many as you want. I don't know, it's probably a limit, but I had these 6. And so if you want to just keep your shopping groups in a group, this is a good way to do it. I have a investment group. And if I go to the investment group, I actually pulled up something in there that I didn't want. So let me get rid of. I pulled some things up in here that I didn't want. So here's some things in the investment group. I have an item on Grayscale. I have an item on Merrill Lynch, and I have an item on Schwab. And so this is probably the one I use the most. In the morning when I get up and I go to Safari, I go to this investment group. I usually have one there on Bitcoin, but I think I deleted that one this morning, and I'll have to get it back on there. It's really easy to get back on. I'll show you that. If you go over here, and I actually have it in my reading list. So if I go to my reading list and I go down to, well, come on, tell me I thought I had it right here. Oh, yeah. There we go. Bitcom. I didn't open it up in a different area, so let me do that again. Hit the plus. If I hit the plus over here, and now I open up the Bitcom. It's not Bitcom. I opened up the wrong one. Bitcom. There. So these are the 4 I usually have in that investment group. Okay. I also found it very convenient to have a movie and TV group. And if I pull up that one, what I have is, I think this is Rotten Tomatoes. So we go to Rotten Tomatoes. It's got everything here for Rotten Tomatoes. Whoops, it does not have Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know why that came up that way. There we go, Rotten Tomatoes. And then if I go to this one, it has a watch list. This is one that if you want to, you just type in the name of a movie and it'll tell you where you can watch it. And then this is another one where you can look at reviews. I think this is the another one. So that's how you, and so to set up these groups, it's real easy. You just go up here and hit the plus right here and add a new group. And when you add a new group, you put it in a name, you save it, and then you start opening up items in that group, and it will save them. So I find that very convenient. Any questions on that?
Vern, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
What's the difference between the tab groups and the bookmark folder groups?
Well, there would be really not much difference other than they're conveniently right here. And I mean, my bookmarks are just like all over everywhere. I have so many of them over the years. But But, and it's just one click to get to it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, so you're saying basically it's convenience,
Yeah,
the way it's
it's
organized
convenience.
and displayed.
Yes.
Thank you.
And it's the, and incidentally, this is the same across all Apple devices, except for the tabs. So I have 7 tabs open on my iPad. That would be different on my computer and it would be different on my iPhone. But in terms of these groups and these items, they would be, they would sync across all devices.
Frank, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Sure. Can you do subfolders inside the groups? Like, for example, if I did shopping and the general shopping like Kmart and all that, or Kmart.
Short answer, no.
Okay, short answer is good. Thank you.
All right, David, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, when you have a tab group and you click on that, your tabs come up and you go into one site and you go deep into that site and then you go off it. Does it stay where you last did something, or does it always stay?
It stays where you last did something. So
yeah, is there any way to avoid that?
As far as I know, no, but you might want to, I can't say that with 100% accuracy. So what I would do would be Google tab groups and ask, you know, can you fix it so that it goes back to the beginning of the tab you're on when you leave the site, and see what they say. I don't think you can, because I know, like, that's how my investment one got screwed up. I was in here, and I'll show you real quick. Okay, I'm in here, I'm in Bitcom, and all of a sudden I think, oh, I wanted to look at something on the Apple site, and I hit the Apple site and it replaces my Bitcom. Now I go out of there and I go up to my tabs and I go back to my investment area and the Apple's there.
That's why I found it unusable.
But I think it's very usable. I find it very convenient. So, but yeah, I can understand that. Any other questions on this?
No more questions.
Okay. So I want to go to the focus area. Now there's 2 ways to get to the focus group. The one is to swipe down from up here down. And I'll do that. And you'll notice that Zoom is on. And I'm going to go over that in a minute. And I discovered this about a week ago, this particular application. I thought, oh, this is going to be fantastic. And a lot of people in our group might like this particular focus. If I tap on here, I'll see that you'll see I have several focuses. The ones that come with iOS standard are do not disturb, work, sleep, driving, and I believe those are the standard ones. So I have added reading, and I've added Zoom and fitness. I use fitness every day because I'm a fitness nut. As soon as you turn on any fitness recording device that is going to your phone, this comes on. And it's set up so that I don't get a bunch of text, and there's only certain people that I'll allow to call me when I'm exercising, the boss being one. And it's just very convenient, because what I found is I'd be out riding and I'm getting these texts and I'm getting all kinds of, I'm getting calls that I don't want to get. And so that's an easy way. That's one I really like, and I use it every day. The driving one I have used somewhat. I don't like it as much as I know it's an important one to use, and I'm still playing around with the settings to get it to where I'll use it more often. Zoom I always use, and it comes on automatically as soon as I start a Zoom meeting, and I actually have it set up for FaceTime too. So if I start a FaceTime or a Zoom meeting, this comes on automatically, which is pretty neat. I set up the reading one the other day. I really don't need the reading one because usually I called it reading. It's actually listening to books, audiobooks. I usually am doing that when I'm doing fitness. So, and I have that app set up so that'll work when I'm doing fitness. So I really don't need that one. I just was playing around with setting up different ones, and I'll probably remove that one. So, but let me get into this. So this is the one way to get to them. And if I touch here, I can go to settings right down here. I touched up here, go to settings here. You can change some stuff here. And if I go to settings, it'll take me to the other area where you can pull up focus material, and that is in settings, and it's under focus. It's not too far down. It's a separate area. It used to be called notifications, or it used to be called do not disturb, and now it's called focus. So this is the Zoom one. I have it enabled. So enabled is over here. The focus status, it's on right now. Okay. Home page is something I want to take a look at, but it turns on. Here's what I want to go over. It turns on automatically when Zoom is on or when FaceTime is on. And when you set up these things, if I hit on this bottom button, it'll say, when do you want this to go on? And you can pick a time, a location, or you can pick apps. And so I just went in here and picked Zoom and FaceTime, but you could pick up any app. Like on the exercise one, I have, fitness, or I have Cyclometer, which is, should be on here somewhere. Cyclometer is not on my iPad because it's on my phone. But that's where you set that up. Cancel that. So I have two set up. Now, name and appearance. When you're setting up one, you can select the color and you can select the icon that you want. Select any one you want. And any color that you'd like. Okay. And then you just hit done. Now, the home page is one of the things I wanted to go over, and I want to just show one thing. So if you look here, there's a couple things I want you to notice. This is the bottom of my iPad, and you'll notice that these items are messages and things that have come in that I haven't attended to yet. And sometimes those can be distracting. So if you go to the home page and go to hide notification badges and turn that on, okay, now they're gone, which is really nice because that way you're sitting there working and these numbers aren't popping up and you think, oh, I just got an email. I better go look at that. It's meant to keep you focused. And I think that's a great feature that you can turn on and off. So if I turn it on again, you'll see that they come right back. Now, the other thing you can do is, if you notice here, I have several pages open on my iPad, okay? Okay, so you can't turn this one off, that stays. But you can select what home page you want to have on. So if I go back into here and go into homepage and turn custom on, all the pages I have come up. Now, I'm just going to turn on this one. I'm going to go right here and just turn on this one. Okay. And you have to remember to hit done right up here. Done. Okay. Now, when I go out, now let's get rid of the things too. Get rid of the numbers. So they're gone. Now, when I go to here, that's the only page I have open. Okay. And again, this is not something that I will probably use, but when you go over the reviews, this is designed to bring up a home page that these are the only things I want to see. Now, I did think about setting one up so that if you were working on, for example, editing photos, you would have a page set up. You could set up a separate page, and you can have the same icon on or the same application, like your calendar. You can have that on multiple pages. So if you could set one up, for example, on photos and say, you know, I want to open up all my photo editing apps, or have all my photo editing apps on one page, and also this is the only page I want to see when I'm working with photo editing. That would be an example of a use for restricting this. So if you go back again, I'm going to go back in, and I am going to get back out of this and go to here. And that works the same across all iDevices. Any questions on that, on Focus? Because it's really a great feature. Took a while to grow on me, but like I say, I use it every day with fitness, and I thought of this Zoom thing the other day, and I thought, oh, this is great. Zoom meeting, I'm on a Zoom meeting, I don't have to think about do not disturb or anything. It just comes on.
I have a question, Mitch. Two questions,
Yes.
in fact. Is the Zoom available only on specific iPhones like 13? I'm using right now a 10, and I don't have the Zoom function within Do Not Disturb.
Do you have Zoom? So do you have Zoom as an app?
Yes.
And when you pull up that, and when you go into here and go into settings, you're not seeing it?
That's right. I don't see it. I don't see when I go to Focus. I don't have the Zoom thing. But that's not my main question.
No. Okay, so when you go to Focus, I skipped over that. When you go to Focus, let me.
I don't have the option Zoom. I have all the other things: work, sleep, reading, driving, fitness, but not Zoom.
Okay, and when you hit the plus.
Yeah, it doesn't come up.
And you go to custom, you can't select Zoom.
No.
It must be something with an older phone.
Okay, but the other more important question is this: while you were giving your presentation, and again, all your presentations are excellent, I noticed on 2 occasions during your presentation today, and it disturbed me, there came a sort of small template came all of a sudden onto the screen. It said zoom off, and it was exactly the template that when you use zoom on, this thing was floating on the top of the screen twice today, and I was very concerned what it meant, because I was concerned that my Zoom meeting is off all of a sudden.
Yeah, no,
so,
that was because that'll happen when I'm in that. When you start in the settings on that Zoom thing, it'll turn it off, and then it'll turn it on again when I get out of there. And I think that's what you were seeing. It had nothing to do with the Zoom presentation.
Okay, I was concerned though, and that answers the question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, and you weren't the only one, Eckert. When Mitch and I were working the other day, that little banner keeps popping on and off, as he said, to let him know whether or not his focus is on or not, on and off. Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And again, because I was working in the Zoom in Zoom, it came off. That's what you were seeing. And this is what shows it right here. Remember, this is the icon that I selected to indicate Zoom. That indicates it's on. That's also on my computer and it's also on my phone.
All right. Ann McKay, would you like to make a comment?
Well, I found the focus in settings. I didn't go through the control panel, and Zoom is not an option. I just added it as the option under custom.
Yes, that's where you add it. You go into custom and you look at your apps, and it'll be there. Maybe I should go over that. Let me just, because this is an important feature. So if you go to the plus, okay, and you go to this custom, and you go, this, I'm going to say, this is what we want. I'm not going to change any of these. And I go to next. Oh, I got name. Okay. Okay, name, next. Okay. Now, it comes up with people that I might want to include, that I would allow these people to message me and call me during a meeting. And they automatically populate. I can add more, but I don't want any of them. So I'm going to remove all of them. Okay. Now, then I can also choose, do I want to get calls from favorites, or do I want to get, no, I don't want to get any. I don't want to be bothered. Okay. But I will accept repeat calls. So if somebody does repeat calls, what happened to me here? I got to go back in here. It screwed up. Okay. Name, good. Okay. So if I want to, and I said none, but if I wanted to allow repeat calls, I would leave this on. Okay. As an emergency type thing for people who knew how to do that. So then I'm going to hit done. And then I'll put allow none. And now it comes up here and it says allow apps. And this is where you go in, and I would go down here and I would choose Zoom. And if Zoom is on your device, it should be there. And if it's not, Eckert, then it's telling me that perhaps this is not, for some reason, available on an older phone or an older iPad.
Well, I obviously didn't go through that exercise that you just presented, but I think
that's what you have to do.
That'll do it. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you'd hit that, and then you'd hit done, and it would appear right here, and you'd take these couple out. Okay. And then it has allow none, but and then you can also do this time sensitive thing. If you have certain things that are time sensitive that you want to interrupt you could check that off, and then you're done. Okay. So now if I go out of here, I have a good thing, but I am going to delete that focus, and this is how you delete them, right down here. So I hope that clears that up. Does it clear it up?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Good.
Okay, great.
I'd like to move on.
Yes, you have 10 minutes.
Okay, good. So I want to talk next about live text and some photo enhancements. And let me just go to some photos. This is the one I want to go to first. Okay, so this is my dog, Cody. And this is his buddy who's looking at him like, you look like about the size of my lunch. Okay, so the thing I wanted to show here is when you pull up an animal or a plant in old photos or new ones, many times you will see this. If you see this, it indicates that it's identifying these characters. So if I hit on this, it comes up and it says, there's dogs here, okay? And if I go over to here and I touch on the dog, it'll come up and it'll say results. This is a German Shepherd or a Norwegian Elkhound. And then it gives pictures of them. It'll do the same thing for a plant, a tree. Now, sometimes it doesn't work. I have a beautiful picture of an alligator across the lake from where I live, and it's a great picture of him. And this did not come up. If this doesn't come up, it just indicates that it's somehow not picking up that that the animal is there. So we get out of this, and now I go to here to the next dog, which is my dog, and hit on him. And it comes out. It says, "Oh, this is either a Yorkie or a Silky Terrier," and it gives again pictures. So that's a really neat new feature in photos. The other neat feature that I've been waiting for forever is this right here. You can adjust the date and the time of the photo. And where I find that comes in for me is I've scanned a lot of old photos. And when you scan old photos and import them, it puts the date you imported them rather than 1955 or 1982 or whenever. And you got to go in and you got to adjust those dates. And it used to be you could only do that on a computer. Now you can do it on iDevices, and it syncs across everything via the iCloud. And so I think that's another neat feature. It also gives a lot more information down here than you used to have before. Okay. Now, I got one more thing I want to go over. I want to talk about this text feature. If you notice that this visual text lookup. So if you pull up a photo, it can be an old photo, or you can just aim your camera at something. You don't even need to take a picture. And if this comes up, you can just hit on it. And when you hit on it, it will light up all the text that it can grab. And you can grab as much or as little of this as you want by just going like this. And now I'm only going to grab that portion and not the other portion over. And then you can just take that and share it to a note. Copy, paste it to documents, what have you. That's another really neat feature, and you can pull stuff off the website the same way. And so that is a great feature. And the last thing, and I know we're running out of time, is I wanted to just show the iPad. So I think I mentioned this. Yeah, I did mention this. I know what I wanted to do. I want to unplug this. This is where it gets tricky. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a second. And I want to share my phone for just a second. Okay, let me see if this is going to work. Voila. Okay. Now, I wanted to just go into Safari. Safari's right here. And again, I was looking at something there. Cancel this. Okay, we're going to leave this up. So in Safari, this is the new layout, and everything is by default at the bottom. And that's the big change. And a lot of people were very critical about this, but I'll tell you, it's where it should be as far as I'm concerned, because you think about the phone and the phone is in your hand, and it's real easy to reach the bottom of that screen as opposed to up here. But if you don't like it down there, you can change it. You can change it. Let me get back here. Let me get out of this. Hold on a second. Okay, if you get to, you see these double A's. If you hit the double A's, you can then move it up to the top bar. So we'll do that real quick. And now the search bar is up here as opposed to the bottom. And if you want to get it back, again, you hit the double A's and show it at the bottom, and it's at the bottom. There are also, you can barely see this little thing over here and over here, and that's where you can swipe to different pages by just touching that. Okay. You also have your share button right here. Okay. You have your bookmarks here. Okay, and then here you have your pages where you can add a page and so on. And there are a lot of other ways to do these things, but I don't have time to go over them, and that's all I have. So I'll open it up to any questions for the next few minutes.
Can you plug your iPad back in?
Yes, that can be tricky, but I will try and do it.
Okay. And boom, there goes the dynamite. Okay, we won't be able to do that. Okay.
Let me
restart it.
I can try one more time. I'm not going to start it up again, but sometimes it does work if I let me just try it one more time here. I got it to work there earlier this morning.
Okay.
No, you want me to start it back up? That'll take a minute.
You can, yeah, take a second to do that. And if you have any other questions, please put them in the chat. And go ahead and do that, because we have a question related to Safari on the iPad, Mitch.
Okay. Let me see if this will do it real quick.
All right. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We will try to get to them. And hopefully.
Yeah, no, that didn't work. So I got to restart this thing. Questions?
Most of them have been answered, and I'm just waiting for waiting for you to start your iPad.
Okay, I'm working on that right now.
All right, Jared Billmeyer, you have a question.
Jared.
Jared? Okay,
hi,
how are you?
Good.
Fine.
iOS 15, I have it running on my iPhone 8 Plus, but I don't think live text functions on the 8 Plus phone cameras. So the iOS 15 runs fine, but there are some features that do not seem to want to work on some of the older Apple products. Do you know if this is me or if that's the way it is?
That's the way it is. That's the way it is. We want to try to get to this last question. That's the way it is. You have an older phone and you have new software. Expect that you're going to have incompatibilities. Okay.
That's what I experienced and I expected. Thank you.
All right, open up Safari, and Don Peacock, are you still here? Don?
Yes, hi. Hi.
Ask your question.
Yeah, Mitch, is it, maybe it's a Zoom thing. Why did, when you were showing your Safari screen, I didn't see the normal menu bar, which shows the URL. It shows it in the tabs, but at the top, the menu bar that says you
Well,
have.
the menu bar is right here.
Yeah, no, but well, like on mine, I can make this text bigger, can go back, I can open it. Well, okay, you got the tab thing, but
Well,
my
you can
menu-
also change that look in settings. If you go to settings, maybe that's what you're talking about. If you go to settings and go to Safari, you have two looks. The one I've chosen is the compact tab look. The other one is this one look right here. And
okay.
if I go to that one, then Safari will look like this.
Yeah.
With the big type
okay.
up here, okay?
Yeah, okay, thank
And
you.
then it shows the other tabs down here. Is that what you meant?
Yes, thanks a lot.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mitch. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to George.